Welcome back, Nerdiverse. This is, of course, Masters of the Nerdiverse podcast, where we always have such sights to show you. Haven't said that in a while. And this is MOTN lore, where we take an item of lore from the Nerdiverse, and you decide which item of lore that is, and we decide how much importance it has to the overall world that it inhabits. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G, right into our great panel. Let's just do introductions all around. Wash,
Yo,
what's
what
going
up?
on?
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me back. Jurassic Park. Nice.
You ready to talk some dinosaurs?
Yeah, man, I like things that are like 7 tons and eat other things. It's kind of, mm, well, I'm glad I'm not there. Let's put it that way.
For real, for real. And of course, the wonderful, the enchanting Tootie Odin. What's going on, Toots?
Roar! Yay,
Wow, there we
dinosaurs.
go.
Let's
There we
go.
go. There we go. That's the roar we needed to get this
That,
bad boy going.
that's a way
Right?
better intro than I would have thought of. That was awesome.
That was
Yay.
intense. that was
Got a clip.
it's we
Sorry,
got
I
our
didn't mean to
first
scare
clip.
you guys. My bad.
Yeah,
I'm so
chill out.
sorry.
Under these
I'm so
shades is
sorry.
tears. I'm
I
like, I'm
was a
shook.
bit out of hand. Yes,
I know.
my
Calm,
bad.
calm down over there. Dotson, we got Dotson here. We got Dotson
See, nobody
here.
cares.
Nobody cares. Nice
Nobody
hat.
cares.
We're talking Jurassic Park, people. I'm so excited. I almost don't even want to do a big preamble. Let's just jump into it, shall we? We're
Let's
doing
go.
MOTN lore on Isla Nublar specifically. And for those who don't know, Isla Nublar is the very first island that we encounter Jurassic Park. There's a ton of lore to this place, so I'm happy to break it down with the astute squadron here. Before we jump in, does anybody have anything to say before we open the giant gates to Jurassic Park?
A couple of questions. Movie going experience? Did you see it? Theater?
You know what? That's a very good segue to our first slide. Welcome to
That
Jurassic
I did
Park.
not know. That was not planned. So
Movie going experience. Toot, you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I absolutely saw the very first movie in the theaters with my cousin, Chris Dyron. I saw it with my mother. I saw it with my sisters. It was a huge memory. It was so funny because there was a generational gap between us older kids and then the ones that were like in their what would be in their early 30s now. So it's so funny that like it's still kind of separated. They have a totally different memory of Jurassic Park than we do even today, which is so funny to
oh,
me.
that's hilarious.
But yeah,
That's
I'll never
awesome.
forget it. Right. So I'll never forget it. It was honestly the one of the best movies we saw that year. I can't remember if it was in the summer because it was tied in with a couple of other movies, including Toy Story, which was epic. And I don't remember if it was the same year or if it was just around the parentheses of that era of years. But like there was all kinds of amazing movies exploding at the same time.
Hmm.
And my parents happened to have the time to actually take us to go and see them. So it was just memory after memory, which is why I still love the theater today. Anyway, sidebar. That's over. Um, yeah, Jurassic Park, dude. It wasn't. It wasn't just that like we went and saw the movie. We went home and we played the movie. Me and my cousins got on our bikes. We rode around the neighborhood and we were actively looking for dinosaurs as we
Yeah.
rode around the neighborhood.
Hmm.
And like we crossed bridges that weren't there because we went through tiny creeks. And this is in East LA, mind you. I lived in East LA at the time when the movie came out. And like we crossed tiny little creeks that didn't even exist outside of like ghettos and like these tiny ditches and stuff like that. Like we made our own jungle, we made our own Jurassic Park, and I'll never
And
forget going home and actually playing it. And my cousin knowing the score. When we came home, my cousin was like da na na da 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 na na, and it was the same exact day that we came home and saw from seeing the movie. Like it was so funny. Like that's what made it funny to us, in a sense, is that my cousin came home and remembered that part of the movie because when we found our dinosaur egg, like he lifted it up and he was doing the score. It was like it was just perfect. So this entire movie had an absolute imprint on my brain. The very first one, anyway. Yeah,
And just a
that was that.
shout out to
Was that a lot? I feel like that was a lot.
No, that
I
was
don't,
epic, dude. That was epic.
shout out to East
Okay.
LA. I haven't spent a lot of time there,
Yay!
but you got a tar museum in Los Angeles, which
The
I've
La
been
Brea
to
Tar
at
Pits.
least 7 times. That place is amazing.
Exactly.
So there
Yes.
were all types of gnarly things cruising around the Los Angeles area once upon a time ago. And if you are in LA and have not been there, you need to go there. That place is freaking awesome. They even still have a live like
Yeah.
gig going on that you can
Hmm.
like see in the like area of, and it just keeps growing. So anyway, shout out LA, East LA, dinosaurs. My experience, um, I don't think I was driving age yet. I think I got dropped off to go to the movies with my friend. It was one of those Friday after school things because that's what we did in a small town. You hung out in front of the theater, waited to go to the movie. Yep. All right. And so, actually, that knocks into that Friday Live story where I got anyway. Um,
Mo-
all I really remember from the movie going experience is the sound. To this day, that
mm,
sound, I second to none. If you ask me movie going experience sound wise, Jurassic Park's in the top three. Like without a doubt, like the thing blows you away. And this isn't a review per se, so I don't feel bad saying this. This movie made in 1993, was it? This thing
mhm.
freaking holds up today. Like
Top
you
10.
turn on Jurassic Park today, you're like, damn,
Damn.
this is awesome. So anyway,
Yeah,
that's my experience.
absolutely. Oh, you nailed it right on the head. One on the holding up, and two, this is one of the first films that used Dolby TXX, right?
Mhm.
The audience is listening. You know that,
Mhm.
that's when we
Yeah.
first got
The
Dolby
THX.
sound,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
freaking heard that T Rex. Okay, my experience. So my experience very similar to Toots. My grandmother has always been very big on us going to the movies as a family, like all of us. Like I don't care if you have to work that day. We're going to go see Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
1992,
That's us.
1993. Like Tootie said, like a just a perfect storm of great movies, right? Jurassic Park, Toy Story came out around that time, the birth of Pixar, right? And Jurassic Park, I think for me, it was one of the first movies I was ever fully immersed in. I was, I didn't eat, I didn't drink. I was literally feet on the chair, wrapped, curled up like this, scared the entire time, and totally immersed, like so frightened. And it was one of those things like where I think this is like our generation's Jaws, where I'm literally in the bathroom of a Denny's, like raptor. There's gonna be a raptor that's gonna come out of a stall, and it's gonna go. And I'm gonna see that little toe click under the thing. I was terrified of dinosaurs for years, and it made me so fascinated into them. So yeah, Jurassic Park is one of those formative films that just open your imagination. And anybody in our generation will attest. Everybody was into dinosaurs after Jurassic Park. They just took completely over. Everybody wanted to know what a raptor was. Everybody was drawing dinosaurs. Everybody had a favorite dinosaur. This was truly a monumental film for our generation.
For sure.
Oh, welcome to Jurassic Park. Speaking of just welcome, we have that was our welcome to Jurassic Park. But speaking of the island itself, how did you feel like speaking of the sound when they flew in? He said, there it is, kids." And you got to see the island and that booming score by John Williams. Didn't the whole thing was just a build up to the first time you saw a dinosaur? How do you guys feel about the opening of this, the introduction to this island to Jurassic Park?
Okay, I suppose I'll go.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the opening is absolutely amazing. Um, from the opening to the ending, the entire John Williams score is ridiculous. The banner falling at the end and the dinosaur roaring completely, and you hear ba 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 ba. Now,
Yeah, it's
here's what
just
I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you about the score. Family Guy ruined a lot of it because a lot of times when I hear the Jurassic Park score, I hear
I
Peter
I
Griffin doing
never thought about it
it.
until you just said it. As soon as you said it, I hear Peter in my head.
I totally hear ba 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 ba. Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally hear
Yeah,
Peter
yeah.
Griffin. So
yeah.
I can't change that anymore. Thank you, Seth MacFarlane, and shout out because that was very clever. And by the way, side note, sidebar, Seth MacFarlane is a huge John Williams fan. Huge. In
Hmm.
fact, I met him at a John Williams concert, September of 2011.
That was like
I want to
2011.
say I may be really wrong on that, but I
Yeah.
did meet Seth MacFarlane at a John Williams concert at the Hollywood Bowl, which was really cool. So he's a legit fan of John Williams. So like him using the the sounds effects and the orchestra, ladies and gentlemen, John Williams, and he did the binary sunset and whatnot. He's a huge fan and also a huge Star Wars fan. But again, I will digress from that. But yeah, so when it comes to the score of the Jurassic Park, like yes, it's amazing, but Family Guy kind of ruined it, sort of, kind of for me, just a little bit.
Uh,
In that I hear it in Peter's voice most
yeah,
of
it's
the time
impossible.
now.
Upon first viewing, I had no idea what the hell I was looking at. You know what I mean? The helicopter comes cruising in, and you're just like, "What is this view? This is amazing!" And I believe it's somewhere in location in Hawaii in reality, right? Because
Hmm.
I know a bunch of people who went there. They say it's freaking gorgeous. But as a repeat viewer, when you see this island, and even now as we get into the lore and we start digging deep into it, it's like, how big this island has to be.
It was
And
huge.
like this place is freaking big, it's untouched, it's completely remote. And the as you know we're talking about part one. We're talking about Isla Nublar. I'm gonna mispronounce that at least 7 times tonight.
You're
But
fine.
as you get further into the lore, like
Hmm.
people were coming to this island. They were
Oh
taking
yeah.
things off this island. And it's like, dude, this island's out here in the middle of blanket nowhere. We're going to the island. Oh, that means I might die. Forget about the dinosaurs. It's like, where am I? How do I get off? If we lose a boat, who we call it? You in the beginning, the dude, he's like, yeah, I'm not going up there. Yeah, there's a bunch of death, sure, but that wasn't about that. That's like, what if my boat gets like, what are we doing? Swimming? Nope.
That's funny you mentioned that. There's a kid show called Jurassic Park Cap Cretaceous, where it's basically that. It's four kids who are left there after Jurassic World and are left there to fend for themselves on Isla Nublar before the volcano erupts on Fallen Kingdom on Fallen was it Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom is where the island explodes. We'll get to that further in the lore, but yeah, like forget the dinosaurs. I don't want some giant bug to get me and scoop me in the neck, and now I got dysentery, and that was the story of and that was the story of me. I didn't even I didn't even get killed by a
So dumb.
cool thing. Importance to the lore when dinosaurs ruled the earth. I always like this slide because it's kind of like our thoughts on there's early thoughts, like very highbrow thoughts on how important an island is to a story, a location is to a story. So we'll start with Wash. How do you feel the actual island itself is important to the lore?
Well, I was actually going to start with you because you didn't answer the
Okay.
last question.
What was the last question?
The island, the entrance to the
Oh yeah,
island.
yeah,
How
the
do you
entrance to
feel
the
about it? Your thoughts on it?
oh man, let me expound. My apologies. I get so excited. I'm like a dog chasing cars. Yeah, I don't know what to do with when I just caught it.
Well, I was
Uh,
just going to throw it to you first. You know what I mean?
my
The
bad.
man that can't talk.
I get way too excited about this stuff. Yeah. The interest to the movie is just one mystery box after the other, isn't it? To coin kind of like JJ Abrams, just like, okay, we're on this plane. It takes a plane to get there. First of all, that's off. Or a jet. It takes a helicopter to get there. You see this giant sprawling island. You've never seen anything like it before in your entire life. It's such a weird start to a movie. The music is blaring. It's just completely immerses you right off the bat. You see the cool Jurassic Park Jeeps, which was like marketing 101. It's like you automatically wanted a Jurassic Park Jeep. You know what I mean? And you're thrown into this group of characters, Dr. Grant, um, um, John, Jeff Goldblum's character. You automatically love
Malcolm.
them. Malcolm,
Dr. Ian
Dr. Malcolm,
Malcolm.
Dr. Ian Malcolm, the GOAT, dog, the Timothy Dalton, and you automatically kindle to every single person in the car. Even Dr. Hammond is very likable, so you're already on board, and that's just Spielberg, right? That's Spielberg, like automatically making you worry about these people, you know.
Right.
So it's like the interest. It's almost like a master class of how to automatically throw you in the middle of a situation. You know what I mean?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
you know,
stakes, baby, stakes,
immediately,
and
immediate stakes,
it's
because
like nothing you can do. So when you talk about the importance of the lore, like it, first off, when you think about the concept, and we'll probably get into this a little later, but when you think about the concept, if you were to be like, hey, I'm gonna bring back the woolly mammoth, for instance, where are you going to put the woolly mammoth? Much less
just drop it.
300 of them. You know what I
60
mean?
of them.
So when you talk about the importance to the lore of this island, you have to ask yourself, and I did not see Dominion, full disclosure, even though I'm actually peaked a little bit now, just because the natural progression of things makes sense when you look at it in a whole versus just kind of clipped out. And it's like, man, where are we going to do this, right? Where can we make this safe? Where do we have resources? This is where my mind goes. And, I don't know about food per se, like, because I can't.
Yes,
y- Sure, there were a couple of hogs running around, right? But you don't
goats.
have you don't have T-Rex food running around. So they made they chose this in mind with the dinosaurs are obviously going to be carnivores and feed off each other, which is kind of a morbid thought when you're bringing this species back. So I looked at it, or look at the island as a whole, as it's hard to have Jurassic Park without a place to put the damn park. Like, imagine if they wanted to put SeaWorld at a pool. Hey,
Yeah,
we're bringing SeaWorld to your public pool.
Long Beach Aquarium.
Like,
Let's
what
go.
what are you gonna do with that? It's like, hey, all right, where are we putting the whale? Oh, don't worry about it. Logistics. So the importance to the lore for me comes to the logistics of the island and the dinosaurs on it, even though it is
Fun,
a movie and not,
fun,
DHT or UPS.
a fun fact about that, and good to your point, is that apparently Jurassic Park was originally supposed to be in San Diego,
Yep.
San Diego Zoo, right? And that harkens back to Jurassic Park 3. But Hammond said, yeah, what if something goes wrong? Now we have T Rexes walking down Main Street. You know what I mean? Let's put this on a secluded island. We're already using Isla Sorna to breed them. Isla Sorna was the original place that they were bred. Let's just rent out the adjacent island and use that as Jurassic Park. Because in retrospect, you know what I mean? Having Jurassic Park in a and having a brand new idea in a metropolitan area, probably not the smartest idea. At least until you get it all sorted out. Um, Toots, what's your thoughts on the importance to the lore?
Well, as far as the island itself being important to the lore, I don't consider the island to be any importance to the lore, to be honest. Given that the island itself was only a trial and error island, it was only a leaflet and an entire pamphlet of thesis.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of many. What we're dealing with here and what we've seen in these movies is only one leaflet of many. Like this person who invested here is only a franchise. Like let's for example, let's take McDonald's or Subway. This is just a one franchise of a bigger conglomerate, a bigger corporation. I don't remember if we actually have any idea what the corporation is It doesn't happen in the first movie. It may happen in the second or third
Mm.
or fourth. I don't remember. I'm
Mm.
coming off this with I'm raw dogging it tonight, gentlemen, because I actually enjoy and embrace this situation so much. I'm just raw dogging it by my own theories and theses.
Desai.
Theses, whatever. I don't care. But my point is that this is just one experiment among many. So this one island, like there's plenty of islands that this could happen on in seclusion, in safety. The way it was done properly. If you want to go about it in a scientific way, this was done absolutely well. Um, the bad part, or the thing that the wrong choice that was made, was inviting family over to experience this before it was even ready. So that's the whole movie, right? The
It's the
movie isn't about,
hubris.
oh yeah, human beings come and enjoy this. The thing was, like, they were theoretically just trying this out, and they were going to try this obviously on the people that they love the most. That being said, the only reason why they did that is because they were so assured that this was going to be 1,000%, 100% safe, like for everybody involved. This is why they were doing the test run. It's funny though that they only chose about 4 people to do the test run with, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean, as opposed to like a warm 100 or a warm 250, the way we would probably see today, when it comes to like something like Tiana's Bayou, or like the opening of a new ride or something like that. Excuse me. But like that's interesting that it, like, we can equate it to that, but it's probably not that simple. So these guys were actually taking scientific steps to make sure that this was going to be done safely. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And then it went awry. You know what I mean? So everything went haywire in the blink of an eye. And it didn't actually do that. This was done manipulatively. But, that'll come, I'm sure that'll come in the next slide, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, the importance to the lore. Let's go back to that, I suppose. Um, I don't think the island itself is very important to the lore. And I haven't said that very much in the lore. I've always assumed that the things that we were discussing were very absolute fundamental to the lore. In this case, not so much. Not even close. We don't need the island in order
Mm.
for the lore and the science behind the dinosaurs to exist. They can exist anywhere. Like you said, in Manhattan, like Brian said, they were ready to go and they were not ready for it. So that's it.
Yeah, and I it's funny hearing Brian's importance take and your importance take, and kind of, I don't want to be the median, but at the same time, I like both of your takes. Like, where you tell me where the very first McDonald's is. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head where the very first McDonald's is. You know
I
what I
think it's
mean?
funny that you mentioned that because I thought about that as Tootie was talking, and I'm like, You're right, but there was a first McDonald's.
But
You
there
know what I
was a
mean?
first
Like, there
McDonald's.
was a first McDonald's, and that location probably mattered. But this is the sales business side of Brian talking, and you get corporate Jurassic Park billions of dollars. It's like, yeah, logistics, baby, logistics. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry,
Yeah, no worries. I definitely
You're
understand, and
hired.
you're hired. No, and
I
I
don't
kind of,
want the job.
no, you got it. You're that
I
guy.
don't want the
No,
job.
you're that guy cleaning the
Go ahead.
dinosaur bones up there.
No thanks.
No, I'm kind of between. I hate to say, I'm kind of between both of you. I like importance to the lore. Yes, there's a lot of Jurassic Park that happens after one, right? There's a whole lot of experiments. There is there is locations after locations after locations to secure this location. You know what I mean? Hammond was so positive that this was work. He would invite his own grandchildren for the not even like the first run. They were just invited to the park to see how things were going. The park was still like 3 months out of being like tourable. Even in this picture, you're seeing like workers and contractors walking around cleaning stuff up. They got sick dinosaurs. What did Malcolm say? It's like it's the problems of having a zoo and an amusement park at the same time. Like it's like this perfect storm of issues that can happen. On top of that, speaking of perfect storms, I think the
You
island
won
is
two
important.
tickets to Fry Fest.
You put welcome to Fry Fest. Would you
like,
like some
yay!
fries? Yay,
Like,
sure. And it's kind of like uh, Isla Nublar is important just because it boomerangs in the series. It's not just in this first movie. They build Jurassic World on this on the skeleton of Jurassic Park in Jurassic World. And I think that these events don't happen if it's not on Nublar, only because of the tropical storm that happens at the exact same time. Newman, you know, booby traps the park at the exact same time. They bring these innocent bystanders to the science experiment. You know what I mean? So I think there is ample lore to be had and stories to be told from this island. Even before the dinosaurs got there, there's a lot of backstory lore to this
mhm,
particular island and why it was chosen for this isolated location, just in case anything happened. It's almost like, welcome to Zombie Island. Would you like a slushy? We're just gonna let
right.
zombies loose on this island because
And,
we know for a fact, worst case scenario, they're not going anywhere. You know what I
and
mean?
overall, it might have went well, but someone stumbled on the island and got eaten, and it's like, oh damn.
Oh,
What do you got over here? Nothing.
nothing.
It,
Yeah, so
nothing.
nothing. So and it's funny, in Jurassic after the events of this movie, it was a cool decade before anybody came back to this island because they covered it up. No one,
Right.
the world still didn't know Jurassic Park even happened. Everybody had to sign NDAs up the yazoo. No one could talk about it. That's a lot what Jurassic Park 2 was about. Malcolm was like, I can't really talk about it because they'll sue me to death if I talk about this island and exactly what transpired. That that cost the lives of dozens of people and threatened all four of us. And by the grace of God, we all escaped. But speaking of just the sure, and Toots mentioned it, like the sure, almost hubris of this entire idea. Let's talk about Dr. Hammond's dream. You know what I mean? It's like this is probably one of my second favorite part of the movie because it's so storytelling, but at the same time it's so fun and cute. Mr. DNA. He has his like little cue cards and everything. But it's so cute, you know what I mean? In your blood. I just want to do Doc. I just want to do Mr. DNA voice for the rest of this segment. But I want to ask you, the
Ouch,
squad, to
John,
go.
that
Ouch,
hurt.
on that hurt. Dinosaurs in the maple. But it's like one of the most intimate scenes is Dr. Hammond talking with what's her name, Sarah. And they're at the dinner table and he's just explaining why he did this shit. It's like, man, I just you go to the flea circus and it's all fake. It's not real. I just wanted to create something that was actually real, that people can touch. And what did you guys thoughts on was Dr. Hammond's dream like completely out of pocket? Was there any merit to what he wanted to do? What are your thoughts on this?
I will go because I don't have a lot to say about his dream. Like, yeah, I get it, man. And, his dream. What I think it's funny that you bring up this clip because this clip covers up like a ton of science that's going on in the background. And it's like, oh, prick of the blood. It's
Mhm.
a surface level. And for me, Dr. Hammond's dream was very surface level. Like, I just want something that's real. I just want to touch and see a real dinosaur. I got the means. I got a spot. So, yeah, let's do it. Meanwhile, there's like mad scientist level crap going on behind the scenes. And he's just like, one, two, three. Oh, I got what I need. So for me, his dream was, short sighted to say the very least. In fact, to your point, yeah, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring back dinosaurs. And my first thought is let's take them to San Diego. That's the first thought. So it's like, yeah,
Automatic, right?
a
You know
little
what?
short sighted.
Not to interrupt, but it reminds me of that one Spider-Man panel where Spider-Man is fighting Sauron from the X-Men, giant Stegosaurus looking dude,
Oh,
pterodactyl looking guy. And he's like, he's like Sauron, you're brilliant. You can cure cancer. Why is it all you ever do is try to turn people into dinosaurs? And he's like, because I don't care about cancer. I just want to turn people into dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Spider-Man is like, okay, God, okay, man.
Basic. You
Like
know what
Dr.
that
Hammond
means?
he
Basic.
could have used this infinite resource to do anything else in the world. But he was so, like you said, it's like so high level. I want to see dinosaurs. And that's as far as he thought it through.
You
And
know,
everybody
he's
was
not up there showing off the science of it all. He's not up there ego stroking himself. He's
nah,
like, no, I just want to play, man.
just check this
Eh,
out. That's a
it's like,
stegosaurus over there. Isn't that cool? Check this out.
no, no,
No,
it's not, man.
it's
Not the
looking at
ones that
me.
can eat me.
I'm threatened,
like,
bro.
like you just
But
want to bring back the ones to eat the plants. Cool.
but but if you're gonna make a zoo, it's not gonna be a petting zoo. You want to see a lion. You want to
And
see a cheetah.
here is
That's the
the
problem.
yes, this is the problem.
That's the
Yes,
problem.
so I'm
You know,
no
it gets
doing that.
it gets turbo boring. Uh Toots, what are your thoughts on Dr. Hammond's dream? Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but Brian is 1,000% right. John Hammond is delulu boo boo.
He's super
John
delusional.
Hammond has no idea what's going
what he's
on in
what
real
he's
life.
doing.
Um,
Oh,
but at the same time, like you said, behind the scenes, these are scientists that are taking advantage of Dr. Hammond's money, that are absolutely using it to their advantage to advance the actual research. John Hammond thinks it's all him. Like, I have this bright idea to do this, derp, derp, derp. He does what he has to do. He does his ones, twos, and threes, and he adds them up and he sends it to the science lab research in order for them to be like, yeah, like legit, like we're going to do this. And he ends up like obviously funding the entire thing. Whatever John Hammond does, that's different lore, I think. John Hammond lore, the John Hammond lore is different. This man makes money somehow. So there's that. Okay, but that being said, Dr. Ian Malcolm. Not only do I have a mad ass crush on Dr. Ian Malcolm, but Dr. Ian
mhm,
Malcolm knew the entire time that this was never going to work. And
mhm.
that's what makes this movie and this lore so cryptically amazing, is that he came in with a warning. He came in, paid, helicopter ride, all expenses paid. He already knew that. John Hammond expressly said, no,
Spared no
what
expense.
was his phrase?
Spared no
Spared
expense.
no expense, spared no expense. He said it at least 3 or 4 times in the movie. So Ian Malcolm knew all this, took full advantage of it, and still decided that he was going to voice what was going to happen. Chaos was going to happen. And that is insane to me, is that he was the songbird of our generation, in that this isn't going to go well. Just so you
Mm-mm.
know, life's going to find a way, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. He knew that this wasn't going to go well. His money went against what John Hammond's money did. So, what, regardless of Dr. Hammond's dream, he hated Ian Malcolm, regardless of how much he paid for him to be there. He hated the fact that he was there because he knew already that he was going to be against his dream. And I think that's very brilliant and very like sidewinded and bizarre by Steven Spielberg's aspect. Because what a weird thing to do, to add such a conflict into your movie, where if you understood that people were going to theorize what you were actually doing with this very scientific movie. And shout out to Michael Crichton. If you're going to read anything, if you don't read at all, but if you read anything, Michael Crichton novels are amazing,
Mhm.
including Jurassic Park. There's at least 3 or 4 of them, but Michael Crichton is amazing. Shout out to
And
him.
if you don't
But
read,
this
go to
is the
audiobooks.
Audible.
Oh, audiobooks, also that, yes. But this is the clash. This is the clash that people were afraid of. And then it was right then and there with Ian Malcolm. What an amazing thing to do. So, yeah, Dr. Hammond's dream was squashed the second Ian Malcolm entered the scene, if you ask me.
you know, you think there would be some dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour? Hello?
Knock, knock,
Hey, you think
knock.
there might be some dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour?
Exactly. Right.
I really hate that, man. You know what I mean? It's like it's okay, Dr. Hammond's dream. It's like he invited people to kind of not be lost in the sauce, so to speak. He thought he was doing everything right, right? I'm going to invite two archaeologists. They're going to be great. A legal guy to make sure that we don't get sued. Ian Malcolm because he's hot. We're inviting in all these people to check out my dream and to pretty much secure the destiny 1,000 years Jurassic Park. And everybody said this was a bad idea from the jump, except the legal guy who was just like, I'm just kind of like a conscientious objector. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to make sure that everything's on the up and up. And you could see it starting to eat away at Hammond to the point where he sees his grandchildren again, and the little one is all shocked, all the hell. Is the little girl is all shell shocked, and he's just like, yeah, this is probably not a good idea. You know what I mean? And everyone's against him from the start, but the scientists who are just having fun, having infinite money to do something to do the impossible. You know what I mean? And I think it goes perfectly into our next segment, and we've been talking about it. Science gone wrong. Your scientists were so preoccupied enough they just have to think if they should. You know what I mean? This is probably the worst idea ever, and can have ramifications that can literally end the world. You know what I mean? And we see from the future films when they get out and they're just out in the world that this is a major problem. We now we're not the alpha creatures on Earth anymore. There's big ass T Rexes running the countrysides. So it's like this man may have ipso facto terminated the human race without even knowing, just because he just like you guys both said, he was just so head in the clouds naive. You know what I mean? Like I just want to see it happen, and I have the money to do it. Let's start with you, Toots. How do you feel about the? And we've been talking about it, but how do you feel? Do you have any further thoughts about the mad science and how this movie kind of harkens back to the old '50s movies? Science gone wrong. You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think for sure it was a hasten endeavor. If I had $1 billion, trillion that I wanted to do something with, and I was curious as to what to do with it, I'd probably try to experiment with something like this. This is a fourth, fifth, or sixth grade endeavor that John Hammond is actually doing. He's just outliving his childhood experiences without understanding the consequences of those experiences. So it's very dangerous. And again, Ian Malcolm, for some reason, understood that, and it's so beautiful that they even pinpointed the idea that he was childless and that he was from woman to woman or whatever that he had. Even if I don't remember if he was childless or that he had multiple women with multiple children. Either
Yeah,
way,
he was
he
divorced mad
wasn't
times, wasn't he?
involved.
Hmm.
He yeah, no, he was divorced multiple times, yes, but he was uninvolved regardless. You know what I mean? So he didn't hold those ties. So in a sense, you can say Ian Malcolm had no idea what it was like to even understand the childhood endeavors of wanting to be curious about what dinosaurs would be like if they were here now. The same thing would go for trains, right? Some kids are into trains, and some kids are into astrology, where they're into space and like astronauts and this and that. So it didn't seem like Ian Malcolm even understood anything of that nature. He was just one sided, one minded. This isn't going to happen. You're trying to make this happen. This isn't going to happen. And that's all there is to that. This isn't going to happen. You're trying to make this happen. This isn't going to happen. And he
Eventually,
just left it at that. So there was no connection to the imagination of being a child. Whereas John Hammond understood the entire connection. He understood the assignment of being theoretical and understanding what if we did this? What if blah, 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 blah. He had the right amount of money, obviously. He had the right amount of ideas. He understood that science and money went together in certain forms, and he was able to be an alchemist in that sense, where he just understood that, like, if I just mix this and that, we can make something. And obviously, he produced a dinosaur, if not many. So, with that, like, I think there's a certain power when it comes to that. Like, even if by accident, and to be honest, John Hammond, that was all by accident. Science only happens by accident. It's all theory, and then boop, cool, it worked. So
Yeah.
science is all accident. So boop, here we go. Here we have dinosaurs all of a sudden. And if I'm being honest, right here, 2025, we definitely have the technology for dinosaurs. They're here, they're now, they're working on them. They probably have mechanical arms. They're probably doing something. They're probably walking backwards for all we know. They're doing crazy shit. So we definitely have the technology for that. If not, Michael Crichton would never have written about that. Now that's another theory. But yeah, so there's that. But if we're to understand that this is going to be the way from this point on, I don't think that's going to be a thing. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I don't think that like dinosaurs are actually going to be a thing. Um, so like when it comes to science going wrong, uh, I guess there's that. I guess that there's no reality in that. Like we're gonna see dinosaurs happen. They've already happened. Like as far as we're concerned, it's beautiful to understand them for what they are, but it's not going to happen from this point on. But yeah, the
Uh,
science going wrong there is that it's already been done. I think.
The Pandora's
Am I
box is open.
wrong?
The Pandora's box is open.
It's already
Pretty
been
much.
opened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's already kind of happened there.
I mean, because this isn't the first time anyone has seen a dinosaur born in this shot. They've been experimenting with this for years in the 80s. Apparently, they were working on this in the 80s, in the 70s. They were working on the technology for Jurassic Park, getting the science down right.
Right.
Hammond's been funding this for decades. You know what I mean? And building and creating this island where dinosaurs are going to roam the earth again. And going back to Dr. Grant was like, yeah, we were all kind of enchanted with the magic of this place. But like you said, Toots, there's a power to that science. And we've all abused it, being a part of this. And now it's gotten out of control. You know what I mean? Nidri's, is that his name? Nidri? uh you know
yes.
um he shut down all
Nedry,
the
yeah.
yeah, Nedry shut down all the power in it, you, well, I hate being right. What did Malcolm say? Man, I hate being right all the time. And that's the infamous T-Rex scene. And now Ish has hit the fan officially. You know what I mean? Like officially effing around has met on the Venn diagram, finding out. You know what I mean? And now we
That's
have
a whole nother
absolute
subject. His
chaos.
betrayal of the entire system is a whole nother subject on the
That's
thing.
part of it. It's the human.
Nedry's betrayal on the entire system is ridiculously different than what the science has nothing to do with what he did. That's man error, right?
Yeah, that's the
Right?
abuse of
Like
it.
that's a
That's
man conspiring against the entire system of what's going on. So it's nothing to do with science. Man, that's insane. Anyway, sorry. It's beautiful that you brought up Nedry.
yeah, because I think Nedry is the catalyst of all this. Like you
Yeah,
said
I
earlier in
agree.
the, as you said, this was so meticulously planned out that Dr. Hammond was sure that he can bring his grandchildren and they'll be perfectly fine. Every every single minute detail had been planned out. This is the perfect place. We're gonna have a good time this weekend. But Nidri was the fly in the ointment and was the spy that threw the monkey wrench into everything and caused the island to literally haywire and show how
Wow.
bad of an idea this is because not of the science but the men behind the science. It's not the gun, it's the man holding it. It's the
Right.
abuse of
Wow.
power. It's the abuse of science. And that's what Malcolm's whole point was. It's the chaos of man that caused this whole thing to go awry. And that's where the science goes wrong. It's not the science, it's the men behind the science. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying?
Yes.
And I think this whole story is about the abuse of power. It's about the abuse of it's the seduction of the innocent. It's so many things tied into this one little story about dinosaurs on an island to where you get lost in it until it bites you right in the ass, and that's where the T-Rex scene happens, and that's where the impossible virus is put into the system, and Jurassic Park is never going to be the same. You know what I mean? And to and just giving my 2 cents on the science gone wrong, it's like, yeah, the science is so perfect that we're not perfect. The science is more perfect than we are, and we're not responsible enough to hold this. We're not responsible enough to hold Prometheus's fire, which is pretty much what this is. You know what I mean? The second we get it, we're already burning each other down, and that's what Nidri did. He immediately he immediately disobeyed a direct order, and he just ruined the entire thing forever. Jurassic Park was
It's
never going to
wearing
recover from
off.
this.
I know it is. It's starting to just bleed into every part of your life. It's happening. It's happening. Go
So
on.
this is your fault, Brian. I know what you're talking about, and we're
Yeah,
going to square up.
yeah.
MOTN Friday, 6 p.m. 6 p.m.
Ah,
Pacific
that's
Standard.
funny.
We got to score this
Uh,
set. It's starting to it's starting to bleed in. But
I understand. Go on.
but back to my point, it's the science gone wrong. It's not the science, it's the men behind the science. No, we were never mature enough to handle this situation. And the island itself, going back to Isla Nublar, was the petri dish in which the virus let loose. This was the location in which the science does go wrong, and the world is never the same again. Before we move on, Brian, science gone
I,
wrong. What are your thoughts?
I have a couple of thoughts. First, on Tootie's, if you have 100 billion zillion dollars, why does no one say be Batman? If I had 100 billion zillion dollars, all I'd do is be Batman. Like, er, what do
Can I
you
raise
do?
my hand? Can I raise
Go
my
ahead,
hand?
Mike. Go ahead.
Because I can't fight and I'll get my ass whooped, bro.
But you have 100 billion zillion dollars, bro.
It doesn't
That's
fucking
the
matter,
point. Go make
bro.
yourself a Batmobile, man.
My One of my earliest jokes that I've ever heard from my father is that Batman cannot be real because his very first night out, someone would have shot him in the face. Batman can't be real.
All right, all right, man. Fair
I
enough.
don't care how much
Anyway,
money you got. Bullets are cheap,
all
and
right,
I
man.
and you can train all across the world and learn all your techniques. But when this happens,
Shout out
you're
Pops G, because
yeah,
that's the realest shit I've ever fucking heard.
because I
Hey,
was a little kid. I would jump off stuff as a kid. I would jump off like chairs and
30
shit. But
cents will take out a billion.
we
I
take out a
agree.
billion real
I
quick.
agree, Pops G.
That just happened in
Fuck with
real
that.
life. That just
We
happened in real
good.
life.
I don't know when
You
this
know,
episode is going up, but tune in to Friday Night Live for more
Friday Night
conversations
Live for
such
more
as this,
conversation
because this
just
will be
like
picked
this.
Yay!
up.
I
This
digress.
will be picked up on another
I
situation.
don't mean
But
to step on your
it's
Yeah,
toes.
for sure. I can't.
science gone wrong.
Tomorrow.
Shut up
Science gone wrong.
tomorrow.
Um, I would
Jeez,
be remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Henry Wu, because really
he's a
this
villain.
science is his brainchild, and it starts
Nice.
way before Jurassic Park. It
Yay.
just starts as a simple biological chromosome type of, yeah, man, I'm just trying to slice chromosomes and make this, make that, evolve. And it, they kind of accidentally fall on to, oh wait, we can splice this and do this and take that, and we got boom. And so he this is why he's a through line in many of the movies. I can't say all, but I want to say
Almost
he
all.
makes an appearance in almost all of the films, and he's low key, but really this is all his science that's been funded by Dr. Hammond. And so you're like, hey, science is just out there running amok, and he has a character arc within the films that show, yeah, the arc kind of runs amok. My point to the science gone wrong is back to the corporations. So the first Jurassic Park fails is La Nublar.
Hmm.
It fails. It could have easily have died. Corporate, like, no, we took a loss. We need to make up this
Recoup.
money. Do you know how much this project cost? And actually, I want to say in the films, Doctor Who, Doctor Who, yeah, who,
Hmm.
Woo, Doctor Wu,
Woo.
uh, talks about, yeah, dude, like I this has to work. I have no choice for this to work.
My
And
life's
so they
work.
Right.
keep
Yes.
repeating the exact same mistake. To your point, Tootie, about Malcolm coming in and being like, yeah, this is not the way any of this
This will
should
never
work.
work.
Yeah, this is. And so it but between the two of them and throughout the research, I was like, man, Malcolm's point of this isn't going to work, Wu's insistence of this science, and then Hammond's money and corporation just kept this just kept this freaking thing cruising, bad decision after bad decision. And one last point, and I don't have to make a comment on this because I just kind of tied it in to your point, Tootie. Are they making dinosaurs? I know they're trying to make woolly mammoths. Okay, I'm not quite sure the point because the OpenAI is involved in that.
They've
Sam
just
Altman,
made a
200.
saber tooth tiger. They
Uh,
just made a saber-tooth tiger.
Hadn't heard that.
I heard
Judy,
that
to your
just
point,
recently.
w- we are really dumb if someone's like, "Yeah, man, let's bring back all the dinosaurs. That's gonna work
Man,
out," because that's a terrible,
idea.
terrible
Mhm.
idea. It's literally like,
Right.
"Hey, you what was it? Megalodon? Here's what we're gonna do. The megalodon's real, but we're gonna give it legs and let it walk around. What-
So
Shoot it with what?"
how do you defeat that
like,
shit? How
like,
am I supposed to defeat this thing?
like with
there's nothing.
Why are you
There's
decapitated
nothing
making
head.
that's
it
gonna
No.
happen.
So
nothing
to
good?
your
Yeah.
No, it's awesome you mentioned Wu because he is literally like the main villain of this film, low key, not the not the Australian like poacher that is the quote unquote
Okay.
villain.
Okay.
It's
Pause.
Wu,
I don't think he's the main villain of this film. He
not this
eventually
film
becomes the main villain
of the
of the
series.
entire Jurassic Park lore.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely. Not this film in particular, for sure.
the
He's
good
still the
call out.
good guy. Right.
He's it's so crazy, right? Like he's the good guy now
Yeah.
because he's the Willy Wonka. He figured it out. You know what I'm
But
saying? He
if
brought
when you
dinosaurs.
go back and watch in retrospect, you understand that he's
He's
very crazy from the
evil,
beginning.
crazy,
He's
and
Delulu from the very first movie, and
dude,
he
smart.
just happens to have the chutzpah to actually make it happen, and that gives him the
Okay.
confidence and this weird ooze of desire to continue what he's doing because it worked one time. Because it worked one time, regardless of the failures. He ignored the failures from the one time. He ignored the failures and the people that died because of the first one that he kept
It's
going.
a couple
So yeah,
deaths.
he eventually becomes the villain. Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know what it
Beautiful.
reminds me of, Toots? Has anybody here seen Reanimator? The classic
Oh yeah,
horror movie
Yeah,
Reanimator.
we watched it
for
He
sure.
we watched it for a
random
shot
select.
random select Reanimator, right? Hell yeah! Shout outs to Random Select. He is that doctor. He is the Jeffrey Combs character. What's a few deaths? We're changing the world, dude. We're going to save the world. We're going to make dinosaurs come back, and they're going to be rad as shit. What's a few deaths, man? What's a few? I mean, dinosaurs, right? So he keeps making the same mistake over and over and over. They even bring and just circle back to Isla Nublar. They go back and create brand new dinosaurs because they're so drunk off of power. We're just gonna make this Indominus Rex. What is it mixed with? What isn't it mixed with? The damn thing almost had wings. We're gonna make this the ultimate killing machine. Why? Because we can. And it's gonna look rad. And we're gonna sell toys. It's gonna be great. And we're gonna
Yeah,
build Jurassic World on the skeleton of Jurassic Park. And we're gonna just reopen everything. We're not gonna learn a damn lesson. We're just gonna try it all over again. I bet it works this time. And they shortchanged the Indominus Rex because that's the crux of that whole movie. It's so smart because it has the raptor brain. It literally just breaks out and causes havoc all over the park. And here we go right back again. And that was a bigger failure because the dinosaurs actually got out at the end of Jurassic World, right? That's what starts falling kingdom in, a pack of Dilophosaurus is running in Dakota and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the Earth gets really bad after when Isla Nublar.
don't spoil Dominion for me. I'm literally gonna watch it this weekend. I haven't
How
seen
can,
it, so
how can I
yeah, it's
not
gonna be
spoil
fun.
it when it
All right,
directly ties into this lore? We
all
have to
right,
talk
damn
about
it,
it. I'll be
damn it. Go ahead.
I'll be gentle. I'll be gentle.
All
But
right,
doomed from the start. We've been talking about it this whole show. This island is might as well be like just the cradle. Might as well just be the gates of hell, pretty much. You know what I mean? This whole island, it's just
like Dr. Maru. Like
it's the
there's
island
some.
of Doctor. Yeah, it's
You,
Monster
you,
Island. Godzilla might as well
yeah,
be here,
man.
bro.
You got a bad idea. Go ahead to Isla
And it's
Nublar.
just
This is where
let's
you belong.
let's compound a bad idea with money and human greed and nature because nature conspired against this island too because what made the night of the deception worse is that the tropical storm was there and they didn't have their full group of people. Tons of people left the island because of the storm. So this could have been maybe contained if they were full staff on a sunny night. You know what I mean, on a sunny day. But no, half the staff left to go back on mainland because of the storm. Nobody knew Nidri was going to flip the switch. So you're working with the skeleton crew, barely no one there, and all the dinosaurs get out. Not just one, all of them. They all get out. And now what do we do? You know what I mean? We're gonna die. we're all gonna die. And and they didn't learn from that mistake, and they were so high, like Tootie said, on their own supply that they just kept trying to make fetch happen. Don't this pro tip, fetch never happened. And fetch will never happen. So let's just keep talking about this doom from the start idea. Like man's avarice and man's just own, you know, just highness on themselves to the point where we were just going to destroy our entire race off of a ain't that cool. But do you think it was more ain't that? Do you think it was just ain't that? Is there more to it than the? I know there's the business side that you mentioned, Wash, where corporations are tied into this, and we took a loss, and we need to recuperate our losses.
No,
We
it
have the
comes down to your
technology.
hubris, your favorite
Yeah,
word in all of like history. Hubris. Like they
hubris,
did not think
providence,
anything was going to go wrong.
at
They
all.
all, from the top down, was like, yeah, this is fine. It took everyone coming in from the outside, and it didn't take them long. It took Doc Sarah. Dr. Allen, well, Sarah was on board, but she was like, yeah,
This
health
is kind of
reasons,
crazy.
things of this nature, right? Like, someone needs to be here to look over this. Everybody else was like, you did what?
Do you know how many
Why?
prehistoric diseases you may have just
Dude,
unearthed
like
playing around
it
with
was
this
a bad
stuff, dude?
idea. And everybody involved with the project, and we've all worked at those places. We've all worked at those
Oh,
places. We're from
this
the
is a
top
nightmare,
down.
dog.
Everybody's like, yeah, this is
Everybody's drinking the
awesome.
Kool Aid, dude.
Got it. Yeah, man. Got
We're
the,
all drinking
and
the Kool
and
Aid.
there's like three people over in the corner now,
Like,
negative Nancy's, blah, blah, blah. We
they're
get
not part of
6
the
months down the
culture.
road and it's like, oh,
Oh,
hmm.
yeah,
All
we
right. Well, we're changing some things. We're gonna back up. We're gonna take some time to reflect on some decisions and decide how we move forward. And this was, it engine.
who's
Like this
worse?
was a simple.
Who's worse? And this is for who's worse, Engine or Umbrella? Umbrella Corporation or Engine when it comes to just overall neglect of the human race.
I
You know,
actually look. I actually would
just
prefer to
full
fight
neglect.
zombies over a like Earth
Fucking
full of
T Rex,
dinosaurs, dude.
dog.
Dude, bro, give me all of Resident Evil versus
A
Jurassic
pack of
Park, man.
raptors. A pack of
No.
raptors.
What are you
What
doing?
what are you doing? You're just gonna die. Hey, clever
Yeah, so
girl. They're gonna
no,
get you,
I'm
dog.
going
They're
I'm
gonna
going
scoop.
Engine.
They're gonna
Anyway,
scoop you, dog. I
I'm
have
done.
to say Scoop Police one episode. They're gonna scoop you. They're gonna get you. Toots, we're just rambling. What are your thoughts here? Jump in.
What was the question?
The
Umbrella
question,
or engine?
yeah, who's worse, Umbrella or Engine?
I'm gonna disagree with Brian. I think Umbrella is still much worse. I'm okay with dealing with two clever girls as opposed to dealing with 12 dozen zombies that are gonna
Fucking.
surround me eventually. So
Oh, you know what, Toots? You have a point. I can probably, if the kids can get away from a raptor, I could get away from a raptor. Maybe my big ass, but I'm not fighting tyrant, dog. I'm just not gonna. I'm not fighting. I don't think I'm gonna make it, dog. And big if
At
Nemesis,
least I get to say clever girl.
clever
If I'm
No.
girl,
fighting dinosaurs, at least I get to quote things
before I die, versus you see
before I
Nemesis with a
die.
rocket
Exactly.
launcher, stars. Next thing I'm out of the. I'm just dead, you know. At least maybe I could pet the
Resident
Dilophosaurus.
Evil director's cut. What is this?
What is this? What a
What is
mansion!
this? All
We got to do
right,
Resident Evil
whatever.
on this
Oh
show. I'm sorry. This is. Let's just skip. Let's just go to the
All
next
right.
thing. Let's just go to the next
Back on
thing.
the track.
I love. You know what? I love you guys. You guys make this
Back on the track.
Jesus Christ. Not just only imagine
Oh my
like
god.
Nemesis with a raptor head, and that's just the end of all worlds.
You guys asked the questions. I only answered.
Hey, you know what? You're not wrong. You're not. Okay, before we get into the consequences of chaos theory, and there seems to be a theme on just the lore of this island and how messed up it really is. Do you remember seeing this scene as a kid and it wrecking you because that's a real thing in the shot and not CG and not some fucking cartoon? That was a real machine that was built that looked up and looked at him like a damn. Okay, it's the feeling you have where you're walking home from school, you see a stray dog that you don't know, and the dog makes eye contact with you. You don't know if the dog is friendly or not, and the dog is sizing you up, and you get that apprehension in your chest. Like, do I run? I can't
Okay, do you
run.
know what got me about
Ah!
this scene?
Mm-mm.
It wasn't necessarily the noise. And yes, the noise was loud. I saw this movie in the theater. Like on purpose, my dad took us to see this movie because of how loud he knew it was going to be. So what got me about this scene was the jaws, this part
Mm-hmm.
when the dinosaur stretched his mouth and
Mm-hmm.
you saw those muscles expand, you knew that they weren't just expanding because there was extra skin. They were expanding because that animal was telling you, fuck off. He was expanding those jaws as wide as he could so that he could express his, or, I can't do
Fuck
dinosaur, but
off.
he was
Hi,
I was,
just
folks. You get one
genuinely
warning when the
opening the
dinosaur.
entire thing.
that's it. The
You got
entire
the
movie.
entire thing in your face, almost to the
Oh,
point where you felt the slobber pop
oh my
off of his
goodness.
teeth. Oh my God.
So
That was
visceral.
insane to me.
If,
If you're not looking at his teeth and being terrified and shitting yourself, you're looking at
I
the
felt that.
expansion of the jaw because that thing was so
I felt
realistic and
that
it
shit
went
was
so
real.
wide.
You could
That
not tell
was
me it
what
wasn't
got
real,
me about
man.
the entire scene. It's like, oh
Ah,
my God, that's a real dinosaur.
okay.
That
Okay.
actually really happened.
Toots.
And I'll tell you this side note, they used RTD buses at the time to make the dinosaur noise. If
Mm-hmm.
you have ever sat in public transportation and listened to the noises, they use semi trucks and they use the acceleration of buses, which very much sound like the of a
Yep.
dinosaur
Mm-hmm.
if you hear it. The acceleration of a bus is the same thing. And all they did was expand that. And I thought that was really cool that they used such a basic noise for that noise. But yeah, very intimidating. It very
Uh,
nerdy side note. I'm sorry if I ruined the
no,
illusion for everybody,
no.
but
This is
what a
Masters of the
terrifying
Nerdiverse.
combination. It's a
Yeah.
terrifying combination, is it not?
No. And to quote 100 greatest movie moments, one of the greatest things ever. It hits the chill factor of your DNA. It's like a wild
Balls.
animal. Wild. It's the chill factor of a wild animal, and because it looks so effing real, like your caveman brain activated when you saw that shit because it was in the shot. It's there. And it made this unhumanly extreme roar that shook the aisles, and it's so realistic. What did Stan Winston say? We in our studio did not create scary dinosaurs. We created real dinosaurs.
Real
and we
dinosaurs.
and we sat
Yes, we
down
did. Yes.
and we sat down and made a real T-Rex that was 3 million billion years, whatever, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. Um, nerdy side note: you know what was scarier than the T Rex? Was climbing down that tree, climbing down that big ass tree with the Jeep in it. That was scarier to me because I had a fear of heights as a kid, and I automatically thought if I was that kid, I would have never got out that tree. That's what I would have stayed
I'll be
there in
honest, that
Jurassic
looks
Park.
so fun.
I was so scary. I was so scared of that damn tree, and the car was following faster, must go faster. You know, the car is following him down, and when they crash, it lands right on top of him. I was tearing up, man. This is probably top 5 scenes of all time in all film, if you ask me humbly. Just the rain, the freaking goat legs slamming on the windshield. Of course, the iconic cup with the tremor of the T Rex coming closer. Oh my goodness, it's just perfect, dude. Um, and this
So
is
the
the perfect,
consequences of the chaos
yeah.
theory.
And I was gonna say this is the perfect consequence of the chaos theory is that what will happen, what you do not want to happen will happen. You know what I mean? Of course, if you drop your toast, it's gonna land butter side up. It's just these are the things that happen, and and it just never stops. Once the roller coaster starts, it just never stops in this film. Um, what are your thoughts? I'm sorry, I just, whew, what are your thoughts on
Um,
just
I, I'll just go as far to say, like, this is where, Malcolm had it right. Like,
Malcolm was
he,
right?
he wasn't sure how it wasn't going to work, but he was just sure it wasn't
Was
going
it
to
going
work
to work?
because, generally speaking, when you hear a bad idea as a person, you're like, none of that's going to work out for you. But good luck?
Good luck.
Question mark.
Mhm.
Malcolm was like, nah, you know what? He was a tad bit more adamant than I am in real life. In real life, I'm like, oh, all right, well, good luck with that. That sounds great. And I walk away thinking to myself, oh, that's gonna go wrong in a million different ways. And that was this from the moment of conception of let's have a park filled with dinosaurs, or pardon me, let's just bring back dinosaurs in general. Much like if you told me, oh, they just brought back saber-toothed tigers. Man, that's a lot of meat.
That's a lot of meat.
It's a lot of meat. It's a
Okay,
lot of meat, man.
it's like the idea at its core is flawed, and then you add on the attraction side, which makes it even. It takes it from being flawed to dangerous. You know what I mean? And it's like no one decided to think this to its logical conclusion, and I think that was what Dr. Grant's issue was. It's like you guys didn't think this to its logical conclusion. You're bringing dinosaurs back in an age where they're not supposed to be here. They've had their time. Dinosaurs have come and gone, and you bringing them back into the modern day to interact with us who aren't dinosaur killing creatures. We can't handle this. You know what I mean? On top of that, you're going to create a damn theme park with popcorn and Sprite, and you're going to have children be around these bloodthirsty machines. This
Can
is
you
all
imagine
bad.
you wake up tomorrow and you go to work and they're like, oh, by the way, next weekend we're having dinosaur survival training. We all need you to come in shorts and a t-shirt with a couple of gym
some
shoes on,
some cargo
and and
pants
and bring a spear with you just in case.
just
And
in case.
we're
Keep
gonna
them on
really
you.
get into this. Like, no,
No,
I'm good.
but that's what happens in Jurassic World in Fallen Kingdom. It's like, hey guys, guess a bit of a problem. Yeah, there was some Allosauruses found out by Canoga Park. Yeah, they're just around. So if you're going to your car, make sure you carry a weapon. No big deal. You know what I mean? And it's like this is the future that the chaos theory brought
And that was the consequence of just a terrible idea from 10, 12 years
20
earlier. You
years
know what
ago.
I mean? Like,
The
pardon me.
T Rex, Jurassic Park 2, the T Rex walking down San Diego and being in people's backyards and shit. Remember when it ran into the blockbuster in Jurassic Park 2? You know what I mean? Like chaos theory in essence. You can't get any more, like the consequences of your actions than it eating Timmy the dog in someone's backyard. You know what I mean?
No,
Cat
terrible idea.
cat's out the bag. You know what I mean? The cat's out the bag at that point. And like Toos was talking about earlier, that it's just the opening of Pandora's box. You can't. There's no going back after that. The world knows you guys are playing mad scientist, and this is just the way it is now. And now, on top of that chaos theory, you're adding in the chaos of people wanting more, people wanting to see it. I want to see a dinosaur. It killed 45 people. I still want to see a dinosaur. You know what I mean? And companies taking advantage of that. You know what I mean? So it's chaos in perpetuity. It's never going to stop until just the end of all things. That's kind of my thoughts on just the consequences of. And the movies tell the story in a logical conclusion up until the newest one that's coming up with Scarlett Johansson. I think she's playing a Dilophosaurus, but we'll see. It depends on what the script looks like. Toots, what are your thoughts on the consequences of chaos theory?
The consequences are self-explanatory. They're already there.
Hmm.
Um, the chaos theory obviously didn't work. And again, they didn't go into this entire thing thinking that chaos was going to ensue. They only went into it specifically careless in the event that they brought their own loved ones into it. If strangers were brought into this uh, endeavor, it wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have been the same tragedy that it was. There would have been no movie about 12 strangers who went in to experiment and they died because it didn't go well. That's just science. This only made history as far as the Jurassic Park saga is concerned because it was family members that were in trouble and family members that needed to be saved, which is why it was documented in the first place. The only reason why it was documented. Again, let's go back and understand on paper, this is only science. Isla Nublar is only science. So the chaos theory failed at the end of the
Hmm.
day. If you want a short answer from being long, it failed. The chaos theory is a failure. And the only reason why it's being documented, as I said, is because family was involved. John Hammond, specifically, his family was involved. He was so confident in his project, mind you, innocently enough, but very confident in his project enough to understand that, hey, yeah, they're going to be fine. Let me bring my beautiful grandkids into this aspect, and all hell broke loose, right? To the point where people died,
Hmm.
arms, limbs were found. Like the movie documented all of this, right? Movie one documented all of this. Movie two documented the idea that Ian Malcolm almost lost his daughter in the second one. So like this entire thing is this chaos theory idea is failure after failure after failure. Let's throw the kitchen sink at science and see what happens because dinosaur DNA, it never works out. So
Let's
yeah,
more
chaos theory
science. Let's
never happens. It never happens in a successful way as of yet.
hmm
Let's include New World or Jurassic World or whatever it's called. Doesn't happen. The island changes, for crying out loud. And we're not talking about those islands, but the chaos theory itself does not work. It'll
you
never
know,
work. It's
Dr.
not going
Wu.
to happen. We're
Uh,
making fetch happen and it's not going to happen.
thank you, Dr. Wu. Isla Nublar was a complete disaster. Science it though. You know what? You got a point. Jurassic Park 2. Yes,
Science it though.
Dr.
Yeah,
Wu. A T Rex ate a human being on Main Street in San Diego. More science though. When you
right?
make a point, and it's more science. It Jurassic World. This is a perfect situation. The Dominus Rex was a horrible idea. We didn't science it enough. Ooh, we didn't science it enough. Okay, let's make it smaller though. No, it's more deadly now. Smaller equals more deadly. It's just they will never learn. And Isla Nublar is really just the beginning of just a never-ending cycle of hubris. It's like just stop. Can we just stop making dinosaurs? Well, it's too late now. They're breeding. That's one thing about Isla Nublar. It's like when they left it alone, and it was like, oh yeah, the lysine contingency. They kept saying talking about the lysine contingency. They're all female. They're just gonna die off. We'll just let it. This is the contingency we put in place so that dinosaurs won't just leave and swim away and cause trouble. But no, nature found a way because you mixed it with amphibian DNA. The dinosaurs, when they needed to turn male, they turned male. Isn't that crazy? You didn't think about that, Doctor Wu, didn't you? You know what I mean? Now we got dinosaurs. You see, you hear that? You hear that, Ed? Bears. Now we got dinosaurs.
Bears.
You hear that, Ed? Now we got these damn things floating around, and there's nothing any of us can do about it. But we've hit that time, ladies and gents. It's time for the lore rankings. Toot is our mathematician, so she will tally up our scores.
I
It's
will.
because I can't do it. I don't have a brain. I don't have a math for brain. Is what I wanted to say. So I'll just go first. I'll go first. Mind you, we're ranking the lore of the island, everything that happened, all the events that happened, the genesis of the Jurassic Park universe. Um, and after talking about it and thinking about it, from 0 out of 4 dinosaur eggs, um, our I would give it
5?
0 out of 5. I'm
Dinosaur egg?
sorry. Sorry. It's been a long day, ladies and gents. 0 out of 5. Thank you, Wash, for being for being my rock. You know what I mean? You from the bottom.
It's your
Uh,
scoring system.
It's not mine. It's ours. None of this. If this stopped being mine when you hit play, bro. This is
All right.
our scoring
All
system.
right, man. All right. How many dinosaur eggs, bro?
I
Like,
don't know,
damn.
man. I'm old and tired. I'm old and tired, dog. I'm sorry. Uh, oh, I'm so burnt out. I apologize, Nerdiverse. 5. I will give this island a 4 out of 5. Only and the reason I knock it off a score because so much happened elsewhere. To Toot's point, she kind of really brought that home with me. Like, yeah, Isla Sorna was a problem. You know what I mean? Everywhere else was a problem, and it just all went haywire after Fallen Kingdom. So, but Isla Nublar is the ground zero. If that's not, hope that's not too insensitive. It is the testing bed. It is where dinosaurs ruled the earth. You know what I mean? This was it was so important to the lore. They came back and built Jurassic World on it. You know what I mean? And created a whole nother, you know, creation of lore. Can't spoil what happens to the island at the end of the day because I don't want to spoil Brian or Wash
Thank you. I'm
rather.
sorry. I had no interest in Dominion until after
I
we get
understand, my
went back
man.
in. Now, okay, it
Well,
makes some sense. But looking
mind
at
you,
it as, a film every 6 years, you're like, what the hell am I watching?
it's
Like,
sadly, sadly that's what Jurassic Park has devolved to, right? It's just like I don't want to see these movies anymore.
well,
But at the end of the day, Jurassic Park 1, Isla Nublar holds a special place in my heart. It will always it just transformative film. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. That's where I'm sticking. It's super important to the lore, I believe. It's where everything went down. There's tons of history, tons of experiences that happened there, and it's unforgettable. Jurassic Park doesn't happen without this experiment. It doesn't happen without this experience that happened. If everything went off without a hitch, Isla Nublar would still be important to the lore because that's where Jurassic Park is. You know what I mean? You can't work around it. It is inevitable.
All
You know
right,
what I mean?
next,
I'm
Lord.
s- I'm s- I'm
Next
sorry.
score.
Don't
yes, I'm going to
fine.
go with a
Brian.
4 out of 5. I am in agreement. Generally with these lures, I like to have something that's a tad bit more textile than just say an island because Tootie makes a valid point that there's site B's. This could have happened anywhere, a bunch of different islands. Yes. That being said, they kept coming back to this island, and even now, like we is that I don't know in the lore. Does this island still exist, or is that
Mhm.
spoiler for Dominion? So this
Uh,
island is still around, and we can probably assume that there's probably still a dinosaur roaming around, which is bad news for anyone who goes to this island. So I'm going with 4 out of 5.
there you go.
Okay. I'm actually going to disagree with both of my cohorts, respectfully. I am going with A2, to be honest. I don't think Isa Nubar has much to do with the lore. They can easily have done any of this on any island. And I don't think the island specifically has anything to do with the fact that this science evolved the way it did. Um, that being said, we have seen that they've used this on other islands and it failed. It failed just the same on Isla Nublar. So there's no real argument there. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say two. So yeah, it's a different ranking for me because I'm so actually very much involved with equating the lore to what we're actually talking about. But in this instance, because it's science, I do not think the island has very much to do with the lore itself. So I give it a
Fair
two.
enough. Fair enough. And with the averages, where does that put us for the Isla
Well,
Nublar?
that leaves us with 4, 4, and 8. That leaves us with a 10. So it leaves us with an average of 3.5 or 3.4, to be honest.
All right.
So the between a 1 and 5 ranking, it'd be a 3.
A 3.
So it's still in the middle,
Respectable,
kind of.
respectable number. You know what I mean?
Right?
There definitely a
Yeah.
respectable number there for Jurassic Park. It Jurassic Park itself, but as we learn, Jurassic Park is not just this island; it's everything. Jur- Jurassic Park is is in all of our spirits. Um, that was one hell of an episode. I think this was a good deep dive
That was
into.
crazy.
Yeah, this was a great episode.
She's
Great.
like, yeah, it was
We all kind of just
crazy.
lost it a little bit. It got a little crazy, didn't it? Any last thoughts on this is our Jurassic Park
Yes,
episode. What are your last thoughts?
low key, Lost World may be better than Jurassic Park. I
Shut
said it.
your shut your mouth.
Sorry, I said
Shut
it.
your
I
blasphemous
said it.
mouth.
I said it.
Shut up.
I said it.
Liar! Blasphemer! I can't with that.
I
I didn't say.
don't disagree,
I
but I
didn't say.
don't agree at the same
I didn't
time.
say it like a more classic movie. I just said a better movie. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not out here shading Jurassic Park. I got the memories. I got the feels. I love the movie. But when you watch Lost World, you're like, you know, this this is a little better. There's more people. Like, anyway, where this is not a review. Final thought. I'm sorry.
Why you gotta ruffle my feathers and stuff? No, Jurassic Park 2 may be better. They did have a gymnastic scene where she drop kicked the raptor. You can't beat that. You know what I mean? So and Ian Malcolm's daughter did that sick move on that raptor, kicked a grown ass raptor out of a damn 3-story building. I mean, that's totally
And it may
plausible.
just be because I get more Jeff Goldblum and Lost World. Like, Jeff Goldblum's
I
awesome in
mean,
this. You know what I mean? And he
Yes,
is the
thank you.
lead. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of a cooler movie than the first one, just because it's freaking Jeff Goldblum, like, doing his thing. Like, all right, I'm done. Now I'm really done.
these are these are takes. These are hot takes coming from Wash.
Valid, valid as
Toots,
hell.
valid, fine. I'm not going to fight you. What are your thoughts? Final thoughts, Toots.
Oh no, I like that. I didn't really agree with you guys, to be honest. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, I think scientifically, I don't think the island was necessary. So that's my final thought.
And your point is 100% valid, and it's just looking at it from different angles, and that's one good thing about having a
Thank
panel. Well, now you just ruined it. Now you're just wrong. See what you did there? Now you're just flat wrong, and you're the judge. You're Simon Cowell, and now little what's
God
his name
damn
is
it.
not now little what's his name is
All
not going
right,
on to the next
whatever.
round. You know what I'm saying?
It's
No,
fine.
this is a great episode. This is why we do MOTN lores. Now we finally kind of have a good idea of where Jurassic Park stands in the Nerdiverse. Any last thoughts before we close this bad boy out? You
Thank
guys are
you.
just mums the word. Nerdiverse, once again, thank you for watching this episode. As always, if you like this content, please leave a like on wherever you're listening to this, maybe on YouTube, Spotify, across the board. Comment on our episodes and on YouTube. Please, we need the comments. Let us know we're wrong. Let us know Jurassic Park is garbage. What's your favorite scene in across the board? What's your favorite scene in the first movie? And subscribe to our channel so that you are made aware of when new content is created. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. Always eternally grateful to my amazing panel here. We are MOTN, and we hope you had enjoyed the show. And with that, MOTN out. Take care, guys.